Good morning. This is Bill from Curious Cars and Auto House of Naples on a reasonably mild Florida morning. I can't complain too much. It's not the worst. You know, it's still not going to be good today. It's going to be hot as balls later on, but right now it's better than it has been. There isn't too much humidity in the air, and I'm not suffering yet, so I'm not going to cry too much about the weather. I know some people, there's a bird that flew in right there to keep an eye on things. We'll keep an eye on him. But anyway, sometimes I get accused of bitching about the weather a little bit, and I suppose that's true, but, you know, if you live down here in the summer, you'd understand where I'm coming from. Animals, other than that bird, have been at a tremendous minimum, which is great. The other day, I did have to pick up a car, in fact, this car, and there were two giant death dogs in the shop. I mean, these things, it was like Zeus and Apollo from Magnum P.I. I mean, these huge, angry, vicious, saber-toothed Dobermans running around. And when I walked in the front door, they came charging at me. I thought it was all over. But fortunately, they, ran past me and got some kind of a beef treat from the owner. So otherwise, animals haven't been too in the way, and that's a good thing. So I'm going to keep an eye out, always have to be diligent, but there you go, that bird's leaving. But for the moment, things are pretty good. And we're going to dive directly into this car without much talk. We're going to fly through this thing. This is going to be a reasonably short video. So this is a 2016 Chevrolet Corvette Z06, or as the Canadians would say, Z06. This one is torch red, which to me is the correct color because, the song wasn't Little White Corvette. I think red suits a Corvette very, very well. Even if it's not my favorite color for a car, it's probably the color I'd want to have if I had a Corvette. And Corvettes are just an absolute institution. And have been for years. The plastic Chevy has been lighting up streets, racetracks, and strip clubs for, basically helping 50 to 60-year-old guys go through their midlife crisis since 1953. It's just an absolute institution. I should say, 53, that's the right year. It's world famous and endlessly present in popular culture. I mean, it's just one of those things like Coca-Cola that just spans the globe. Everybody knows what a Corvette is. Everybody knows what a Coca-Cola is. Everybody knows what a Rolls-Royce is. These are just global brands that the world, I won't say they all embrace it, but they certainly all know about it. And it has developed mostly, with few exceptions, gracefully, since its introduction in 1953 until current. And in fact, now in 2020 and onward, the Corvette has gone from its roots and become a mid-engined exotic, which, is a whole new era for Corvette. I did a review on one of those recently, and I will freely admit that I went into it not wanting to like it, because again, I'm a bit of a dinosaur, and like a lot of people who would argue, I think that a true Corvette is like this one. This could be the last of the true Corvettes. Front-engined, long beak, short, stubby tail. That is what a Corvette is all about. And the C8 left a lot of guys scratching their heads saying, why is, Chevrolet building something that looks like a Ferrari? But the truth is that the guys who made Corvette what it was, for instance, Zora Arkus Duntov, the father of the Corvette, the guy who really turned it into what it became, he always wanted a mid-engine Corvette, so I couldn't fault Chevy for making it. And they did stay true to his dream, and the C8 is a tremendous car, despite my desires to beat the hell out of it and to, say it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It was. I really did enjoy it, and I'll make a link to that review in the description below. But The Z06, this one, when it came out, it was a new level of performance when it came out in the C7. I mean, it moved the Corvette into supercar territory. But the Z06 designation was not new. It had historical roots in Chevrolet. It first came out in '63, which took an already epic package, and it was inspired by, again, Zora Arkus Duntov. He wanted a Corvette that could be ordered as a factory-built race car. And they made this Z06 package, They made this Z06 package that a guy could check off on the option box, and it would instantly give the car much beefier suspension, like a sway bar twice as thick as standard. It would give it big brakes with much more power for stopping. Gave it an enormous gas tank. You know, all the stuff that would help it become a road track racer without any modifications. And they didn't make too many of them. You know, it was an expensive option and not really needed by most people. So the few that are out there today are just absolute collector gold. But that forever ensconced the Z06 badge in Corvette history. And when the C5 was out, which was the real rebirth of a performance era for Corvette, it had started during the C4. Of course, the ZR1 C4 is an amazing car, absolutely amazing, but it was twice the price of a regular Corvette, and it just was, you know, out of the league of most people. The C5 brought much more performance, you know, down the money chain to where most average guys could attain it. And a lot of the track guys gravitated towards that fixed roof coupe in the C5 because it was rigid, it was great for the track, and that became the natural platform for Chevy and, you know, the Corvette team to make a new Z06, which they did, and they brought it back for the C5. Incredible car, very desirable, very good track car, and you know, the thing of legends today. And of course there was also a Z06 in the C6 platform. But when C7s came out, they had the opportunity to make a C7 a true world-class exotic beater beyond anything they had done before. And when they did it, they made it in this car, and they named it the Z06. So the ZR1 would be rebirthed a few years later. They held nothing back on this one, GM, nothing. It got the new supercharged LT4, which is 6.2 liters of absolute insanity, 650 supercharged horses, 650 pound-feet of torque. They stuffed enormous Michelins under it to improve the grip the car would have. To do that, they had to even flare out the front and rear fenders a little bit, which they did. So it's basically a wide body, this car. The aluminum frame, the C7 had an inherent aluminum frame that's already stiffer than John Holmes, and that of course helped with the handling and made the big tires grip even more. And then they put huge 6 and 4 piston caliper brakes under it to make it stop, and fast enough to detach your retinas. I mean, the thing is absolutely insane. Car and Driver got it to pull 1.19 Gs on the skid pad. I mean, yeah, they did, 1.19, and stopped from 70 miles an hour and 128 feet. Those were records for any production cars they'd ever tested. It reached 60 miles an hour in 3 seconds. It did the quarter mile in 11.1, and could run up to a top speed of 205. So this Corvette was instantly comparable to just about any supercar competitor out there, and stuff that cost 2 or 3 times as much. You have the 911 Turbo at the time, you have the 458 Italia from Ferrari. This car would outperform or match it in most every category, and do it for a $79,000, you know, base price, which is cheap compared to what the cars it was up against cost, but is actually quite a bit for a Chevrolet. So, and of course then you get into all the option packages and stuff that was available for this. You could make these cars cost in the low 6 figures, which, you know, again, for a Chevy is not super cheap and not super attainable, but comparative performance-wise, it was just absolutely incredible. And that has been the theme of Corvettes for many, many years, still the theme today, that the most amazing feature of them is the value for the money, the performance you get for the money. And that, of course, is the continuation today. So I tell you what, I'm going to pause there for a minute. I'm going to get my thoughts together, and we're going to start going over this car directly. So bear with me for one moment. All right, so let's keep going. Getting a real quick aside, I looked at the comments yesterday after that Jaguar video, and people said, "Oh my God, you got sick. What happened? Did the coronavirus whiskey not work? Did it, Okay, it worked. It worked fine because A, I didn't have the coronavirus. I took the test. I know that the test was made in China, but that's where you go to get a coronavirus test. Okay, if you want good cheese, you don't go to Shanghai. You go to Sweden or France or Wisconsin. And if you want a coronavirus test, you don't go to Albany. You go to China. That's where you get the right one, because you just have to do what these people are good at. And China obviously has an affinity for the coronavirus, so I think they know it pretty well. And when I got the negative on that, I could say, yeah, okay, the coronavirus worked. The whiskey, I still have, some kind of bug that came from God knows where, but it's not the coronavirus. Secondary to that, it's now anti-Soviet whiskey, so its purpose has moved on. I mean, I understand that the other day, some very lovely Florida judge set the country free from masks, which, again, makes me warm up to Florida. I mean, the weather kills me, but man, there's other stuff going on that I just like. And she freed the world from, or at least our country from, this whole mask thing that's been going on. So the coronavirus is yesterday's news, and it's the Soviets that are going on now, and that's what the whiskey is for. And I have not been attacked or fallen victim to any Soviets. So I will say with some assurity that it's all still working. But get back into the car for a moment. The exterior styling is absolutely gorgeous. Now, when I first saw the C7s, I thought they were a little bit overdone, maybe a little bit too busy. But as time went on, the design grew on me. That said, the Z06 model, like this one, is about as busy as it gets, but it still does hearken to Corvettes of the past. It's got these big, swooping, muscular front fenders with beveled edges going in. It has what could be an old 427 hood, but isn't. And, long front, very low in the front, long doors, hatchback sort of set up at the rear with a swooping roofline and a very stubby little back end. So, I mean, it is very much the traditional Corvette in terms of styling and unmistakable. When I first saw the new Corvette, I mistook it for a McLaren or any number of other things. I mean, I know it had some styling cues from Corvettes, but they had to stretch for it. With this car, it wasn't a stretch. It just went naturally. Now, being the wide body, you can see how it has incredible amount of sort of aero venting. I mean, you've got this sort of venting at the back there behind the rear tires, the big diffuser holding 4 giant trumpet exhausts. You still have 4, they're not round, but it's still 4 tail lamps, and there's a little bit of air venting on that side. This one does have actually looks like an adjustable semi-carbon fiber spoiler on it, which is, of course, something the Z06 has had. You have these big intakes on the top of the rear quarter panels running down into the transmission and the braking area. You've got more braking vents in front of the rear wheels and tires. You've got vents on the fenders there, helping with engine cooling and brake flow, also cooling flow. And, of course, you have a big air intake on the center of the hood to, again, help keep that engine cool. I did hear that there, This car was available with a variety of different setups, a huge variety, and there was very much a track setup that this one isn't. You could get a 7-speed manual, which we'll get into when we pop the hood, with a Z07 package, which beefed it up even more and gave you all sorts of carbon fiber bling all around the outside of the car that was even adjustable, for massive amounts of downforce on the track. And I heard they did have some cooling problems in the beginning. It's not... you hear this, you hear that, you hear the other. The first C7 Z06s, from what I understand, they ran a little bit hot at the track. And even if it wasn't catastrophic, it was probably a little hotter than people wanted. This one is not set up. It was owned by an 83-year-old guy, very well-to-do guy, kept in an air-conditioned museum, basically. And, he used it as a street cruiser, so it never got track duty. This one has the automatic, which is, pretty good for street cruising, and of course automatics have gotten pretty sporty over the years, but if you're a real track dog, this is not the one you want. This is the one that's more for pulling up to the country club. Look at the size of these wheels. Okay, so it's got 19-inch Alumachrome, that was one of many wheel options, wheels in the front. It's got like 14.8-inch rotors with 6-piston brakes. I mean, that is an insane braking setup up there. Very, very cool. In the back, we have 20-inch wheels with a 335 diameter. I mean, it's got steamrollers under the back of this thing. Look at this. I mean, it's absolutely insane. It looks like a pro street car from the 80s. And you could just tell from front to back, top to bottom, this car means business. I mean, it's just got that look to it. And very, very, very cool. The Z06 badging there in the fenders, supercharged beneath it. And, you just have to love it. You can also see this thing has that dual roof option, so the roof is detachable. And that was in large part made possible by the very stiff and rigid aluminum frame this car has. Harkening back to that Jag we did yesterday, this car does use some of that. So anyway, let's have a look at the hatch. Why isn't my key working here? Bear with me. Of course, everything works fine when you're decking around with it, but the minute you actually really need it, nothing seems to work. There we go. All right, so here is the hatch. Actually, the first, even though a lot of Corvettes from the 60s onward had that big glass window, the hatch part only came in for the first time in 1982 with the collector edition. That was the first time a Corvette hatch actually popped up, but they all have ever since then. Anyway, you've got a nice little area back here, everything what you'd expect, more or less. It's there's a little cover there for your cargo or your child. You can strap down your infants in here, and you want to strap them down pretty good because of the performance capabilities of this car. I mean, if you've got a loose infant back there and you start really pushing this thing to the limits, that poor kid's going to be hitting both sides of the car at high speeds. You're really going to have to find some bungees or something, or use this infant containment net to get him stuck in there. Make sure his little arms are in there good and tight so it holds him firm and he'll be able to hang out back there. But anyway, it's excuse me, remnants of that non-coronavirus sickness. But anyway, it's a nice hatch area back there. You can put all kinds of crap, crates of hand grenades, assault rifles, like Clemens, you would have the 50 cans of Irish Spring, whatever it is you need, the Corvette hatch will pretty much accommodate. It's a pretty nice size. Have a look under the hood. Release. All right, there we go. It's a very, very light hood. Okay, so there is an LT4. This was new for the Z06 in the C7. It replaced a 7-liter naturally aspirated engine in the prior Z06, and it did it with aplomb because it got up to 650 horse, which is to me, just an absolutely magical figure. And again, we're talking net horsepower here. I mean, it's just mayhem. So you've got that. It's made to do either a 7-speed manual or a 8-speed flippity-flip transmission, rear-mounted with a torque tube in the middle holding it all together. It is an absolute rocket ship. Just an absolute rocket ship. Very reliable as well, pushrod style. You know, a true evolution of the LS motor that's just absolutely fantastic. And of course that goes into the suspension is all that GM magnetic stuff, which is instantly one of their best features, really. In fact, Ferrari robbed it for their cars, and it uses a magnetic ferrofluid dampening thing that, you know, based on your magnetic settings, can really stiffen the car up or loosen it up just basically instantly. And when we're driving it, we'll get into that, because when you twist the suspension knob in this car, or, you know, the mode knob, which does more than suspension, it is remarkable. You know, you do it in a Mercedes and you could have 3 or 4 different suspension settings and they all basically feel alike. Well, with the Corvette, you feel a huge difference between the settings, and that is in large part due to that GM system. So anyway, look, long story short, this is just an amazing, powerful, modern muscle car engine. You gotta love that it's front V8. It's you know, the true evolution of the original muscle car, where it meets performance and handling, you know, in a way that the old Camaros and Chevelles didn't. And it's just amazing. So anyway, let me get that back down. I'm gonna get my crap inside the car, and then we're going to hop in and go for a test drive. So bear with me for one moment. All right, so let's have a look inside this thing. What you have here are a couple of, you know, modern smart keys where you really don't need to use them. You just sort of have them in your pocket, and that's been a hallmark of modern cars for some time. It's got these little pinchety things here in the door, so it's got a little rubber pad where my fingers are. Give that a pinch and it opens up. It's all sort of trick and modern and electronic. You know, fortunately, because of advancements in technology, they could have lower door sills. If you remember, the C4s had these giant door sills that poor old 60-year-old guys have to climb over, and you know, you have to be Mary Lou Retton to get in and out of one of those things. These cars, based on modern structural rigidity, they give you a much bigger door opening, which is nice for, you know, the old guys like me. Also, of course, the fit and finish of Corvettes has gone up tremendously over the years. That was always one of the big complaints about the Corvettes is, yeah, they handle, they perform, they're great, but god damn, do they have cheapy, plasticky interiors. And fortunately, again, modern production standards and, you know, the way things got less expensive has really helped the Corvette become a much better product for fit and finish than it was over the years. You know, you have, and again, this is a $96,000 car, this one, so it actually should be pretty well equipped, but it does share the interior from the less expensive models, and they also are pretty good. But you've got this nice leathery stitched, you know, stuff which feels tight and together. You've got muted buttons for the memory seats and locks, which are nice, and they don't look like they're going to break or come apart. And there you see the Bose sound. Your power windows there, you've got a swoopy aluminum looking thing contrasting, which looks nice, and the way the door panel swoops into the dashboard is kind of cool. You got the big Corvette logo there on the scuff plate. You could also get sport seats with these, which this one doesn't have. It's, you know, made more for comfort and street driving. It does have nice leather, being this, for some reason they used a 3LZ package this year instead of the LTs that I've been used to. And you could get 3 different trim options, the 1LZ, the 2LZ, and the 3LZ. Well, this is a 3, so you get this Napa leather with the contrasting stitching. You got nice little Corvette logo emblazoned in the headrest, and Z06, you know, applique there also in the headrest. It just looks good. It looks nice, and it's tight, and it's proper, and it feels good. So, all right, let's hop in this thing. Even the door closes with a, you know, pretty decent sound. To fire it up, put your foot on the brake, and let's hear this thing. I wish I could I'll leave the door open to fire it up. do that so you can hear the exhaust. A theft attempted. I did that earlier. For some reason I put a... Oh God, I left the key in the car and the car freaked out, and now it's telling me there's a theft, so I have to find some way to reset that. I don't know what it is about cars that think I'm trying to steal them all the time. I really, really don't. Alright, so anyway, you've got this nice little racy steering wheel with good grippities here at the 10 and the 2. It's got a flat bottom, which makes it easier to get in and out of, purportedly. You got flippity paddles there at the, you know, on either side at the rear. They feel nice. They're well positioned. You got multi-function crap for, you know, various features. You've got your audio stuff behind where it's easy to get to, so you don't have to take your hands off the wheel. Over here, you've got your power mirror crap. You've got your heads-up display settings. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's the heads-up display, and you can go through different, you know, you can just have a tack. You can have a different tack with your miles per hour, and this one's giving you the G meter or something, and then you can have just miles per hour, and you know, whatever. And it's all very nice color display. The heads-up display has come a long way over. Let me pull forward, get in the shade for all this. Hold on. Sun is always my enemy here. Alright, that should be good enough. Alright, so here you go. You've got fixed gauges on either side of the digital cluster. You've got your fuel gauge, you've got your Z06 supercharger boost gauge there on the right side, and a 220 mile an hour speedometer, which I have to admit actually impressed me, because this was one of the first cars I'd been in that had a 220 mile an hour speedometer. This is all customizable, so if I go to the left over here, I can change this one's performance. Let's see, where the hell do I change that? I go to the right, and I've already forgotten. Yeah, okay, well anyway, this gives us a G meter, which is kind of cool. You've got your 0 to 60 timer, your coolant temp, all your different gauges you can put there. You can change what gauges are on either side, these two gauges. I mean, it's all super friggin' customizable. Oil temp, oil pressure, battery voltage, you know, all the stuff you'd want. Trans fluid temp. It's saying we're warm, which is nice. The tires are warm. Wheel slip, you can... It gives you the percentage of your unlimited. I mean, it is so hyper technical, this car. I mean, it really, really is. Performance. How do I get over and change the... I want to do that. Let's see. Hang on. Go to info. There's your trip odometer, fuel range, oil life, tire pressure. No, this isn't it. Speed limit, you can set that for yourself. Maybe you go down into settings. Let's see. Sport, the display theme. Okay, so now if I go over to the right, I can go to a track display theme, which gives you this kind of funky looking thing, and you know, more gauges underneath it. Or I can go over and do the touring display theme. What the hell is playing there, for God's sake? And you got that, or and you can also set it up to where it goes with the different. If I link it to the drive mode, which I'm going to do now. Right now I'm in track, or no, I'm in touring. Sorry, so this is the tour mode. If I go over to sport, yeah, there we go. Now it's going to go into the sport display. I go to track, and it goes to the track display. So I'm going to leave it like that for a moment, and that also seems to change the heads up as well. And it does. Okay, getting over here, you've got your airbag display, nothing. You got this nice swoopy dashboard with leather stitching that looks nice. You know, the black trim, it's not super expensive, but it's well done, as is the little plasticky aluminum shit around the cluster. You got some carbon fiber Z06 badging on the wheel. It does a power tilt and telescope, which is nice, and it works fast. Over here, you've got a big integrated modern technology display that gives you all of your different, I mean, you've got your tickety talks for the kids, you've got your Instagrams, which again to me sounds like a cocaine delivery service, but you know, whatever. You've got Apple CarPlay. If I were USB, I could do that. You've got your Bluetooth settings, your Pandora's navigation. You know, it seemed fancy back in the day, and now it's like having a Model T. You get back into your home button. It has a built-in GoPro, basically, a PDI performance data recorder. I don't have a chip in it, so I can't use it right now. But if you use your own little microchip that you put in there, you can use this just like a built-in GoPro when you're doing track stuff. Change the video overlay with tach and miles per hour and performance indicators. It's all very, very cool stuff. But again, a lot of cars have that now. These sort of supercar track things are, you know, it's not unusual. Let's see, I think we also have camera views featured out of a certain speed or in park, whatever. Okay, so let's see, camera. Well, give me the damn camera. Wait, why can't I have it? Oh, I'm in park. Okay, now I'm not in park, so I'll dismiss. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's our curb view camera, and this is going to help you, you know, not be an idiot and curb up your fancy aluminum wheels. And obviously, it also has a rear view camera. One thing that's kind of neat about this car is it has this little hidden compartment for the state troopers. So if I put that down, you have a pretty nice place to put your carry gun, so it doesn't, you know, feel crappy in your pocket while you're driving. You also have some kind of a USB thing in there. But this is a good place for a nice little aluminum frame Smith & Wesson if you run into any problems on a trip to Miami. You know, they give you enough knobs, and I don't mind twist knobs, and I can appreciate that because I like it a lot more than buttons. But they kind of give you too many. At first I thought this was the volume control, but it's not. This is the volume control here. This changes the audio or the climate or, you know, whatever it is you need here. You've got these knobs for the climate, so actually this isn't the climate. Then you have your climate stuff down here. Get some cool seats going. There's your Z06. That's famous Corvette thing, having the horsepower and torque rating. Now, they're in 76. I think they just had the torque because the horsepower was so depressing. You've got a little pop-up 12 volt, which will probably break at some point. You got a nice little 8-speed display on your leather and aluminum shifter here. This is that mode select knob I was talking about, where you can turn off your traction control. You can change it from sport to touring to weather to whatever, and it really does work tremendously well. Electric parking brake, cup holders. You got a glove box over here with crap in it. And there's a little digital thing for the climate control on the passenger side. The guy who owned this, again, was 80-something years old, extremely well-to-do. He had an airline, you know, so money is not an issue. And he kept all this stuff with it, including the window sticker, which was interesting for me to see. So this thing had a base price of $79 and then stickered it over $96. And there was more you could do. But, you know, that is pretty expensive, again, for a Chevrolet. But you know, look, at least it's mostly made in America. And but it's also, you know, what you're getting for your money is pretty incredible. So, all right, I tell you what, real quick. Okay, so you got your home link up here. You got some kind of suede shit, which feels nice. You got your cocaine mirrors. You got, you know, they went to this thing where they didn't have much of a frame around the rear view mirrors, and then for some friggin' reason they do this blue and red light for the OnStar, which, you know, it looks exactly like having a police car in your rear view mirror. So it will intermittently terrify you when you're doing traffic outlaw shit, which of course this car begs you to do. So don't know about that little setup. I think that was a mistake. If I put the shifter down into manual, you can see it goes to 1, and that way I can bang my way. Shift denied. Love it. You could bang your way through the gears, but I'll just leave it in drive. This thing's a cruiser. This is like an Eldorado style Z06. Get out. Peter's slow gates here. So it feels very sinister. I'm going to move it over into, I'm not going to put it in, should I leave it in track mode? All right, yeah, what the hell? We'll leave it in track mode. Let's see if we can get a G meter or something. Tires are warm. Trans is warm enough. Battery voltage is good. Oil pressure's all right. Oil temp's all right. Coolant's all right. Accelerator. I'm not going to get any kind of great time. It also has launch control, this automatic version, which Car and Driver didn't use to get their best times, by the way. So it's not altogether necessary, but it probably is kind of fun to use. But I didn't bother to look it up. But anyway, let's give it a little run here. All right, so that was an incredibly crappy 0 to 60 time because the traction control had to save us from lighting up the whole street in smoke. It just instantly lost traction. But god damn was that fun. And of course that is a big part of what makes this car such a treat to drive. You can see Dalton's really crappy job cleaning the windshield, but you know, that's just the way he operates. Driving, there's some kind of dust or dirt behind us. Gave me a little bit of a scare. I thought I popped a tire or something. You know, going down the road in track mode, it is bouncy because, of course, it's really stiffened up the suspension. You know, now it's really going to handle incredibly well, but it's going to jar the fillings out of your teeth as you're cruising along. Now, if I move it over into Tour or Sport, you feel this instant change in the suspension, and of course, that's that magnetic fluid. All of a sudden now it's soaking up the bumps very nicely. The steering has loosened up a little bit. It's not quite as tight, and it really does a tremendous job of being a different car. Man, I would have a license for maybe one day if I owned this thing. Maybe. I mean, it just absolutely begs you to be a traffic outlaw. I mean, you're just cruising along happy on your way to wherever the hell you're going, and you can do that. And the sound that comes out of it. And, you know, again, don't love modern cars, but god damn do I love that. And there it is. So look, the thing is an absolute monster. It's just a rocket ship. I mean, it is so much power at your fingertips, and Chevrolet and the engineers at Corvette have done such an incredible job of making it manageable. So even kind of an idiot like me can manage to hang on to the car without, you know, putting it into an embankment without too much concern. And that's, you know, to put a leash on almost 700 horsepower is impressive. You know, the engine, the handling dynamics of this car. The steering's electric, which is a shame, but it does, you know, a reasonable job. I can tell it's electric. I can tell it's not hydraulic, but not enough to really bother me. So, you know, kudos again to the engineers at Chevrolet for making a car that can have this much potential, this much insanity under the hood, and frankly, you can still drive it to the grocery store and, you know, get whatever it is you need. So I'm not going to keep going. We're running into traffic now, and you know, if I keep doing what I'm, there's incoming calls. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm probably going to end up causing a scene. I also have to pick up Jay. That's who's calling me now on the phone. So I'm not going to get to do the interstate run, which is absolutely fine because I know that I would be doing 190 on the interstate and probably get myself into some kind of problem. Love the way this guy jerk merged in front of me. It's always these little fecky cars that do that, by the way. And again, I would like to point out that whenever this guy gets where he's going, nobody has given a shit that he's arrived. And yet, man, they have to go around the streets like they're jockeying for position at Talladega, so I don't understand it. Anyway, this one will be for sale at Auto House at Naples, on the web at autohousenaples.com. You can give them a call at 239-263-8500, and really appreciate you guys having a look today. Happy to be back doing videos. We'll get some more fun stuff coming up soon, and I don't think you're allowed to U-turn there. I really don't. Oh, God, is that a joy. Anyway, we'll see you with the next one. Take care.